Now I'm here once again with Munar 3. Now Munar 3 has had a storied history, and the story's going to continue. But it was originally designed to go to the moon, collect materials-based science and goo science in high space and low space. There was a fuel issue with it. It didn't have enough fuel to get its capture about the moon, and instead flew by the moon in high space. So I was able to collect high space materials and goo, but with Kerbalism, this stuff needs to get back to Kerbin, and as you can see, Kerbin's a little bit of a distance away. So my original plan was to, can I clear out a lot of this? Oh no, okay, I can't get rid of all these other orbits. My original plan was to do a burn here at apoapsis, which you can see is coming up, and bring my periapsis down into Kerbin's atmosphere, but it doesn't have the fuel to do that. And then I was discouraged. I can't get back into Kerbin. I did recognize that I could do a gravity assist because last stream, I set up a maneuver to get myself another encounter with the moon, and I could get a gravity assist to redirect this back into Kerbin's atmosphere. At least I'm pretty sure I can do it. But, I mean, we're not getting to the moon in, what, 26 days? So I thought, oh, I don't want to wait that long. So instead, I just sent up a fixed sister craft to this one, the Munar 3B. It's already gone to the moon. It has collected its science, and it has returned, and all that went successfully. At least I thought it did. But I didn't think I needed this, so what I did is I redirected this probe. Can I... Oh, that's Minmus. Yeah, you're not going to be seeing Minmus for quite... Let's focus on the moon. So I redirected that probe to just smack into the moon to get rid of it, and then I wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. But over the weekend, actually it was very quickly after the last stream, someone on the Discord recognized that I made a mistake with Munar 3B when collecting the materials bay and goo. I started collecting materials bay and goo in high space about Kerbin. I didn't wait until I was in the moon's SOI. I messed up. So that probe actually only collected materials bay in low space about the moon. So the only materials bay I got in high space about the moon is the stuff that's on this thing right now. So now I actually do have some motivation to get this thing back to Kerbin. So that's what I'm going to start off with, is attempting to get this thing back to Kerbin anyway. That's going to be the plan. Now somebody in the YouTube comments suggested, how about you make the burn, because the burn at apoapsis to bring your periapsis down into Kerbin's atmosphere was actually really close to getting the job done. It almost has enough fuel to do it. And then someone suggested, well, only this part needs to actually get into the atmosphere. Does the force of the decoupler, is that enough to give you that extra bit of energy to get you into Kerbin's atmosphere? And I went through it, and the answer to that question is no. There's not enough force in that decoupler to do that. So what we're going to do, that was a long preamble, but what we're going to do, I'm going to put myself focusing back on the moon. Here's the moon here. What I want to do is fiddle with this maneuver that's actually... it looks like it's just coming up, but it actually has to do a complete other orbit and then get back to here. But fiddle with this maneuver to give myself a gravity assist and get this periapsis into Kerbin's atmosphere using the moon's gravity to help me out. So I'm just going to just start fiddling around. I'm a little bit... I guess this is us coming in, but it's hard to tell. Let's just start playing and see what happens. Okay, so if I start to pull this out, that's completely the wrong way. You can see, oh, that ejects me right out of Kerbin's sphere of influence entirely. So probably the other side of the moon will be better. Let's turn the sensitivity down. Ah, that's sort of getting the ticket done. You can see the periapsis, the resulting periapsis with Kerbin is there now. I need to be further away. As I get further... Oh, no, closer to the moon. Oh, please tell me this can work. Oh, dear. Okay, a little bit. See if we can get into the equatorial plane of the moon, if that helps us a little bit here. And little bit out. It ain't quite getting the trick done, I don't think. No. That's a little bit... let's see. A little out. Yeah, this is not... No, that's making it worse. Oh, maybe I should... Oh, shoot. Should I have been... Let's put the prograde part to 0. Actually, shouldn't have. And hitting 0 just turned on all those magnetic fields. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Like this. I shouldn't have been hitting prograde. I should have been hitting radial. Here comes our encounter. Okay. Actually, maybe it is better with... Oh my gosh. Let's try this all again. Okay, I want to be in the equatorial plane of the moon when I come in, because I think that will facilitate my encounter. But I realized I was giving myself prograde, and that was only adding speed to my vessel. And that's the last thing I actually want if I want to get down into Kerbin's atmosphere here. So let's see if I can start bringing... Is it this way? No, the other way. Can I get this down into Kerbin's vessel, into Kerbin's atmosphere? No, not quite. But I'm not far off. Now I don't want to buzz the moon too closely. So I want to get as close as I dare to the moon. Let's turn the sensitivity of this down as much as I can. There we go. About 13 kilometers from the moon. But what I should be able to do is do another maneuver here at periapsis with the moon. And yep, I got that maneuver here. With this little widget thing, if you have multiple maneuvers, it gives you a nice way to bounce back and forth between them. So that's nice. But I want to be on this second maneuver. And here, it should be prograde. Select that again. It should be a lot. I don't think it should be much. Yeah. A little bit of prograde. So it's going to be a couple of burns. It's not quite a free get to Kerbin for free type of deal. And I'm going to go for about a 35. Oh, I think this is looking pretty good. Let's really turn the sensitivity of this down. About there. So that's 31 meters per second here when I'm close to the moon. And my other maneuver... Sorry, that's a lie. It is 5.6 meters per second when I'm close to the moon. 31 meters per second when that's the first burn out here to get us our moon encounter in the first place. I have 139 meters per second left in the vehicle. So I got it. I got my little gravity assist from the moon, a little bit of extra little push here nearby the moon, and that will get my future periapsis into Kerbin's atmosphere. We should be able to recover the sciences aboard this thing. Unfortunately, it's in over 27 days from now. So that's the downside. It's going to take a while. So we're going to have to wait until we get it. But at least I know we can get it. So let's get back to here. Let's set up an alarm so I don't forget. Now, this was the old burn. I don't care about that no more. So we're going to delete that one. And we're going to add in a new burn. Give me about 5 minutes warning. That first of these series of burns coming up in over 15 days from now. So it'll be a little while before we get back to it. So let's get back to the Space Center. Unfortunately, it's going to be we're going to have to wait to see how this all works out. But it should work. We should be able to get back our science. We just got to wait. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves... Actually, why don't we warp to sunrise? I'll do that. So we can see what the heck is going on. I'm noticing I have a notification. Oh, yes, that is my low resolution altimetry scan of the moon is now complete. Excellent. Might be able to use that when we go to do our landers. And I do want to upgrade a couple of my buildings. I'm sort of looking at this. Number one, the spaceplane hangar, it's still tier 1. I'm going to upgrade it mostly for the part count so I can build reasonable sized things. I've actually got a reasonable amount of cash. And then the other thing I want to upgrade is the astronaut complex, because it's still tier 1, and with a tier 1 astronaut complex, your Kerbals can't disembark anywhere except on the surface of Kerbin. And since I'm flying jets around, and I gave them parachutes, and then I realized, oh my gosh, if something went wrong, they couldn't even bail from their craft. So for 75,000 Kerb bucks, it gives me my Kerbals' ability to bail from their aircraft, which I think is a useful thing to do. They can actually make use of those parachutes. Okay, in we go. Let's get started. All right, so I'm bringing up the craft that I finished with at the end of the last stream, which is this one here, and I'll explain what the problem is. Let's get rid of the whole booster. I was all set to launch this thing at the beginning of this episode, but this guy has a problem. I like it because it's reasonably complicated. I was really kind of proud of all this, and what it was going to do is it was going to do the MITE experiment, SITE experiment, 2 different probes at 2 different altitudes, one near space, one high space, and then they were both going to move their way out and become relays. I was really excited with the whole setup of all this. What is the problem? Well, if I get into configuring the probe, which is right here, and taking a look at specifically the MITE experiment, always talking about the fine print. Fine print for the MITE experiment says that this only works over bodies that have an atmosphere. So doing this over the moon makes absolutely no sense. So I am going to get rid of the MITE experiment. It's only going to be the SITE experiment. That's the only one that's worthwhile doing. With that, the SITE experiment is only in space, only biome specific in high space, so it makes way more sense to only send one probe, capture in low space, take the 1 hour to collect the SITE experiment there, go up to high space and start collecting bio, and actually go up and do a let's form a relay with it too. So yeah, that changes this. So in fact, I am going to, yes, we're throwing all this away. So this is kind of unfortunate. This is going to get a lot simpler. I don't need this. Let's take a look at this probe and configure it. It needs the SITE experiment, and that is it. I don't need that much solar generation. So as you can see, this is getting much simpler. The transmission rate for the SITE experiment is 3.4 kilobytes per second. I had that huge relay antenna when I was collecting both of those, but with only 3.4 kilobytes per second, the HD5 high gain antenna, which is the smallest relay antenna, has a max rate of 5.44 kilobytes per second. It can handle this transmission rate easy, so all of a sudden now there's no reason for actually let's flip these around the other way. Always the last one you guess. There we go. Batteries, I'll get to the batteries in just a little bit. So I don't need the big antenna anymore. Electricity. Also, the electrical demands are much less, and all I need now are getting back to the good old OXATs. Actually, what I'm going to do, put this here and this here. So this is becoming a lot simpler. This shouldn't take long. There we go. So now it's just going to be 6 OXATs around there. That can handle the electrical demands as well. I'm going to just send this whole probe not on any kind of a vehicle. It's just going to do the whole thing. The injection out to the moon, the capture, the various orbital things it's got to do. And in order for it to do all that, it requires, I got a budget here of 1,330 meters per second. With this little tank on here, that's not nearly enough, but if I just, let's see what happens if I slide an Oscar B under there. That is a ton. What happens if I slide just another Oscar A under there? There's no way that's right. Is that right? God, I guess it has to be right. It doesn't have to be right, but let's see if we can get some yeah, okay, so back to the Oscar. That one again. So that's going to be too much. We can take out a lot of this. Oh, that's why it was... Let's go back to here. There was hardly any fuel in that Oscar A. That's why. Is that enough now? No. Okay. Back to the musical fuel tanks. Back to the Oscar B. Okay. What did I say? 1330. Let's start taking out some fuel here. Wow, I don't need... Okay. Let's take these lights. I don't need this Oscar A at all. This is getting simpler by the moment. 1341 right there. Or 1541. 14. Let's just keep it full. There's nothing wrong with having some extra fuel. That looks good. Texture on the little ant engine. Oh, the textures don't change anything. Nope. Okay. It needs just 3 batteries. So there is, that's it. Very, very simple. I'm going to go through my little checklist, make sure I haven't missed anything. I've gone through, let's look at the contracts I'm interested in. The contracts are to do a relay. This is going to be actually a new contract. I'm going to call this MunRelay number 4. Do a relay and this orbit about the moon. We'll add that to the contract there too. MunRelay 4. So, oops, I missed one. Go back to all contracts. Which one's this one? That's the relay. Going too quick. Relay, I got that one. Position a satellite in a polar orbit. That one's got to join the party. There we go. So 2 contracts. The relay orbit, I just want to go through the fine print, make sure I don't miss anything. Nope. Oh, that's the contract for the polar orbit. It needs to have antennas. It can generate power. It can do all that. No other things. Sorry, this is the one I meant. Have to have signal strength of at least 5 megameters. It does. So this all should be good. Let's take the contracts away. Fine print is good. I got control. Probe has been configured. I got my science. It's only the site. Electrical storage should be good. Yep. Antenna strength is good. Antenna speed is good. Data storage, it only needs 2 megabytes of data storage. It has that. Again, I worked this out in advance. Propulsion, so delta V is fine. Thrust to weight, it's fine once it's in orbit. I don't care about RCS. Don't care about thermal. Lights, it's got lights. Upgrades, how many ignitions are on this little ant engine? This has to do with Kerbalism. 77 ignitions, that's clearly going to be enough. Thrust to weight is fine. Okay. Let's close that, close that, close that, close that. Let's put a booster under this and send her on its way. So, what is the mass of this thing? It's only 524 kilograms. So let's go over to my little booster collection. This has become a lot simpler. This little guy should do it right here. Let's do a little bit of modification. Oh, I need a fairing around all this. I'm going to come out a little bit. There we are. Boop, boop. Okay. Let's check our staging. So fairing should be on its own stage. These two should go at the same time. Fairing should be good. Put the fairing on clamshell. And we'll put the force up, put it up the 4 sides. Force up a little bit. Delta V of the booster is more than enough to get the job done. And tweak down the thrust just a little bit. There we go. I think this is it. So let's see here. Staging looks good, and let's just test that fairing deploy. Let's get rid of my little checklist. And this isn't Munar 4 anymore. This is MunRelay 4. Okay. So I'm just going to simulate a launch, and all I want to do is check. Do I have a little extra fuel? This thing will have extra fuel, but James is asking, do you have a little bit of extra fuel for future move the orbit contracts? The fact of the matter is, though, this thing is going to be a relay, which means that it is going into a very specific orbit, and I'm going to want to keep it there. So any contracts that get me to want to move it, I'm going to be ignoring anyway. Alarm clock I don't need. Let's get rid of that. Okay, I'm just going to test the fairing. Deploy. That seems good. I wanted to make sure it didn't break antennas or anything. That's it. I trust that it's going to fly, so I'm just going to end that simulation and we're going to fly it.